The family trip was canceled. But then I saw the posts. Matching luggage, poolside photos, inside jokes. They took the trip without me. I didn't say a word. 2 days later, my sister texted, "Can you transfer $500 for Mom's medical bill?" I replied, "Good." Then I called the clinic and told them to bill her directly. That night, 39 messages lit up my phone. "Don't forget that we are your family." I found out they went without me because my sister couldn't resist posting a picture. Same Airbnb we picked out together. I recognized the ugly palm tree painting on the wall behind them. Same weekend, same inflatable swan we joked about renting. All three of them smiling, tan, drinks in hand, like nothing ever happened. And me not even mentioned. I scrolled back twice just to be sure I hadn't missed something. A joke. Caption. "Wish Carter was here." Thrown in for appearances. Nothing. 3 days earlier, Mom called and told me the trip was off. She said there was a problem with the reservation. Airbnb double-booked the house. She sounded annoyed, but not surprised. Said they'd refund the flights and we try again in the fall. I didn't question it. I mean, what reason would I have to? We had planned this for weeks. Dad said it would be a chance to reconnect. He actually used that word reconnect. They even came by my apartment to talk about it, which they only do when they want to borrow something. I cleared time off work, paid my share of the deposit early. I was the one who found the house in the first place. Hell, the whole trip was to celebrate my sister finally getting her license. I gave her every single lesson, sat beside her while she stalled through intersections and panicked at yellow lights. They told me the trip was canceled, and then they left without me. The posts weren't just casual. They were smug. My sister had captions like "Driver Energy Dragon Nail Polish" and "Family trips hit different when I'm not the passenger anymore." She never tags anyone, but the comments made it obvious who was there. Neighbors I hadn't seen in months dropping heart emojis. Distant cousins cracking inside jokes. A few people asked where I was. No one answered. I didn't text. I didn't call. What would I even say? I just watched the photos keep coming like they were taunting me. Like I didn't matter. Then 2 days later, my sister sent me a message. "Hey, can you send $500 for Mom's meds?" Her BP spiked on the flight back. They need to adjust her prescription. No explanation, no apology, just back to business as usual. I replied, "Sure." Then I called the clinic, told them to bill her directly. I gave them her full name, her address, everything they needed. Said I wouldn't be covering any more expenses. The receptionist sounded surprised. She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, I was sure." That night, I had 39 messages on my phone. Mom, Dad, my sister, a few relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Even my neighbor, the one who once borrowed my leaf blower and never gave it back. Messages like, "Don't forget we're your family. Your mom's not well. This isn't who you are. Don't let money come between us." Not one of them explained why they went without me. Not one of them said they were sorry. And that's when something inside me shifted. Not in a dramatic way. Nothing loud or explosive, just quiet, cold. I didn't block anyone. I didn't yell. I didn't write some big rant on social media. I just started thinking about every time they needed something, every last-minute request, every emergency that only my wallet could fix, every time they dropped by with their hands out. They always came to me like it was expected, like it was my role, like I didn't exist outside of what I could give. They thought they could erase me from the trip and then plug me back and like nothing happened. They were wrong. And this time I wasn't going to be quiet about it. The first few days after I shut them down were quiet, too quiet. No one knocked on my door. No surprise visits. No guilt-tripping calls. It was almost eerie, like they were regrouping, figuring out their next move. My mom always said our family was tight-knit because we all lived within spitting distance of each other. But that just meant there were more people to really gossip, and I knew exactly how it played out. They wouldn't have told anyone the truth that they went on a trip and left me out like I was the family dog they forgot to feed. No, they would have said I got moody again, that I was being dramatic. Maybe even said I refused to come because I was too busy or thought I was better than everyone else. It's always been like that. They screw up, I disappear, and somehow I'm the one who ends up apologizing. This time I didn't. I just waited. For days after the message storm, my uncle showed up. He was the first. Knocked once, didn't wait, just opened the door like he still lived here. I was in the kitchen making coffee. He stood in the doorway and looked at me like I'd grown horns. He said, "What the hell's going on with you and your parents?" I didn't answer at first, just looked at him. He said he heard I was cutting off the family, that mom was crying, that dad wasn't sleeping, that my sister had locked herself in her room after snapping at everyone. Said he thought maybe I'd explain it to him since no one else could get a straight answer. So, I told him everything. That they lied about canceling the trip. That they went without me. That they came back and the first thing they did was ask for money like nothing happened. His face dropped. Not in a big way, but I saw it. A flicker, a shift. He didn't even try to defend them. He just nodded once, said, "All right," and left. I thought that might be it, but it wasn't because 2 days later my cousin Riley called. Said she was proud of me. That shocked me more than anything. Riley's always been neutral, floating above the drama like she's too smart to get involved. She told me I did the right thing, that everyone knew my parents lean on me too much, that my sister was the golden girl and I was always just expected to pick up the slack. I asked her why she never said anything before. She said, "Because you always acted like it didn't bother you." I guess I did. And then the stories started trickling in. Not from my parents, but from the people around them. Turns out more people had noticed than I thought. How they only called me when they needed something. How my sister's successes always had my fingerprints on them. How I was always invited to things late or not at all. I started realizing it wasn't just about the trip. The trip was the final blow. The part that made everything else click into place. They didn't forget me. They excluded me on purpose because they could. Because they knew I'd still be there afterward. Still helpful, still polite, still dependable. But this time I wasn't. And for the first time in a long time, I could feel the balance shifting. I wasn't expecting them to fall apart so fast. First, it was little things. A missent email from my mom about her electric bill. My dad texted asking if I remembered the name of a mechanic in town, acting like we were still on speaking terms. My sister posted a photo of the two of us from 3 years ago with the caption, "Some people are just part of you forever." No tag. Just vague enough to get sympathy and just fake enough to make me sick. I didn't answer anyone. I didn't react. I didn't even let it get to me until Sunday when I saw my dad at the gas station. He doesn't even use that station. He has a routine. Always goes to the one near their house. So, seeing him there 2 pumps down watching me fill my tank like we were strangers. It was obvious. He walked over eventually, looked uncomfortable, like he was trying to figure out which version of me he was going to get. He didn't ask how I was, just said, "So, you're really doing this, huh?" I didn't say anything. He started talking. Said they didn't mean to hurt me, that it was supposed to be a quick getaway. Something light, nothing serious, that they thought I'd be too busy, that maybe I wouldn't even want to go. Then he tried to make it my fault. Said I should have come by and talked it out instead of playing the victim. That word victim hit something raw. I just asked him, "If I hadn't seen the photos, would you have ever told me the truth?" He opened his mouth, then shut it again. He didn't have an answer. He muttered something about not wanting to fight, and left. That night, my mom called. I let it ring. She left a voicemail full of tears. Said they made a mistake. Said it was all for my sister, that she was finally doing something right and they didn't want to ruin it. Said they thought I'd understand. Then she said, "We didn't think it would matter to you this much." That one line told me everything. She didn't think it would matter because they never thought I mattered. Not in that way. Not enough to consider how it would feel to be excluded, lied to, erased. The next day, my aunt called, the only one who doesn't take sides or at least pretends not to. She said my parents were losing it, that mom was crying constantly, that dad wasn't eating, that my sister was blaming herself, locking herself in her room, refusing to talk to anyone. Then she said the thing they'd all been tiptoeing around. "They need you, Carter." I almost laughed. They needed me. That's what this always came down to. Not love, not family, not respect, just need. They needed me when bills were due, when cars broke down, when prescriptions needed filling, when my sister needed a driver's ed teacher, when something had to be sacrificed so she could get her win. And I gave every single time. I told my aunt, they only need me when it costs them nothing. She didn't argue. She just said, you're not wrong, but you've always been the one who kept things together. I hung up and sat with that. Was I doing the right thing? That question started creeping in, gnawing at the edges. Not because I thought they deserved forgiveness, but because I didn't know what holding the line would eventually turn me into. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired, numb, just trying to make it through a day without someone reaching for a piece of me. That night, I went on a walk around the neighborhood. Every porch light felt like an eye. People here talk. I knew the story had already mutated. I was ungrateful. I was changing. I was selfish. I didn't care. Not anymore. But I knew this wasn't over. This wasn't revenge yet. This was just the prelude. They showed up without warning. It was a Wednesday just after 6 o'clock. I was home half listening to music while sorting through bills when I heard the knock. Not the casual kind. A steady, deliberate knock. I looked through the peephole and there they were. My mom, dad, and sister all standing together like some uncomfortable family portrait. I opened the door but didn't say anything. They didn't either. My mom asked if they could come in. I stepped aside. They sat like strangers in my own apartment. No one touched anything. My dad looked around like he hadn't been there before, even though he'd once installed my microwave, half drunk and swearing the whole time. My sister sat stiff like she was bracing for a lecture. My mom stared at the floor until she finally started talking. She said they were wrong, that they shouldn't have gone without me, that they didn't think I'd take it so personally, which sounded more like an excuse than an apology. She called it a bad judgment call. Said they panicked when the idea came up to go anyway and didn't know how to tell me the truth. I didn't respond. I wanted to hear what they were really here for. My sister spoke next. She didn't apologize. Not exactly. She said she hadn't meant for it to be a big deal, that she assumed I'd be annoyed on the trip anyway, and she didn't want to deal with that it was supposed to be her moment. I reminded her she passed her test because of me, that if I hadn't spent hours in empty parking lots and two-lane roads in the rain with her, she'd still be failing it. She just said, I know. Then she paused. She looked at me and said, you've always been the one who didn't need anything. That line stuck with me. My dad cleared his throat and finally spoke. Said he didn't know how it got so bad. That they missed me. That mom hadn't been herself. That they didn't expect me to go this far with the silent treatment, the clinic call, the refusal to respond. He said it felt like losing a limb. They asked if we could make peace, maybe go to dinner next week, start over. I said I'd think about it. They seemed relieved, but I didn't promise anything. I wasn't doing it for them. I just needed to see if I could even sit across the table from them without thinking about how easily they erase me. When they left, my sister was the last to walk out. She hesitated and said something that caught me off guard. She said, I know you're planning something. Just don't make it permanent. I didn't answer. Just closed the door. I hadn't told anyone anything. But that line, it told me she knew me better than I thought. The truth was, I wasn't planning anything yet. Not exactly, but the idea of letting them back and felt like letting them reload. I knew how this went. Peace, then pressure, a quiet week, then another asked. And when the first favor came, just 1 week later, like clockwork, I left it on read because part of me had started drafting a plan. And this time, it wouldn't end with another apology. The first ask came a week later, exactly like I knew it would. Hey, do you think you could spot us $200? Just till Friday, some stuff came up. My mom sent it like she was ordering a pizza. No follow-up, no explanation. Just the same casual dependency that had worn itself into the bones of our family years ago. I didn't answer. Not the first one, not the second. When the third message came 2 days later, not sure if you saw this. We're kind of stuck. I left it and read for hours before deleting it without opening. I knew that it'd show on her end. Message delivered, not seen. That was on purpose. That's when the tone shifted. I got a voicemail from Dad. His voice sounded calm but careful, like he was trying not to break something already cracked. He said they knew they had messed up and were really trying to do better. He said things were just tight lately and they'd appreciate the help. I didn't return the call, but I did start planning. Not revenge in the dramatic burning bridges way. Nothing you'd see in a movie, just adjustments. Quiet ones. I changed the password to the family Netflix account. Canceled the extra line they were using on my phone plan, one they never acknowledged was mine. Called the mechanic in town, the one who always called me instead of my dad for payment, and told him Carter's not covering anything for that car anymore. Then I removed myself from this emergency contact list for my mom. Told them if anything happens, I won't be responsible for follow-up care or billing. Every time I did something, I expected backlash. But it didn't come, not immediately. Instead, the politeness started. The kind that feels worse than anger. My mom left soup at my door and didn't knock. My dad sent a long text about how family doesn't always get it right, but we have to keep showing up. My sister messaged a photo from when we were kids in the backyard holding sparklers. No caption, just nostalgia weaponized. It was subtle, designed to soften me up, but it was already too late. The real crack and everything came from someone who didn't even mean to cause trouble. My cousin Trent called me, said he ran into my parents at the grocery store, and they mentioned possibly signing the house over soon. I asked him what he meant. He said, transferring it to your sister since she's going to be the one to take care of them later, I guess. I said nothing, just sat with that. So that's what it was. No discussion, no heads up. The house, our childhood home, the one they still call ours, was going to be handed over to her quietly behind my back. Just like the trip, just like everything else, she got the celebration. She got the attention. Now she'd get the house. They didn't even try to lie to me about it this time. They just didn't include me. When I asked Trent if they'd already started the paperwork, he got weird. Said maybe he misunderstood that I shouldn't make it a thing. But it was already a thing. I went for a walk that night. Long one around the old neighborhood, past houses I hadn't looked at in years. I passed 3 people who nodded and said, "Hey Carter," like nothing had changed, but everything had. They had no idea they were speaking to someone quietly disappearing from his own family. I thought about all the times I said yes, all the moments I bailed them out, all the weekends I gave up, the bills I covered, the things I didn't say because they're family. It wasn't anger anymore. Not even pain. It was clarity. They didn't just forget me. They used me. They kept me in the toolbox. And now they were giving the house keys to someone who thought I'd always be around just in case she locked herself out. So I made a decision. The next time they asked for something, I'd say yes. But it would be the last time they ever expected it. The message came on a Thursday. It was from my sister. "Hey, I know this is short notice, but Mom's car won't start and she has a doctor's appointment at 3 o'clock. Can you take her?" I stared at it for a minute. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I type, "Sure." She replied almost instantly, "Thank you." Seriously. I showed up at 2:45. My mom came out looking surprised, maybe even a little suspicious, like she couldn't quite believe I said yes. We didn't talk much during the drive. I asked if she had everything she needed. She nodded. That was it. At the clinic, she asked if I could wait. I said I had errands. I didn't. I drove straight to the county office. It was quiet the way government buildings are when no one wants to be there. I asked to speak to someone about a potential property transfer. The clerk was nice, polite, pulled up the record for my parents' address. No transfer had gone through yet, but something had been started. Preliminary steps, a title review, a notary appointment booked for the following Monday. I asked who the name was under. My sister's. I asked what else I need to contest it if necessary. I didn't tell the clerk the story. She didn't ask. On the way home, I stopped at the little grocery store on 8th, ran into Mrs. Devlin, a neighbor who used to babysit us when we were kids. She smiled too wide and said, "So excited for your sister. Big step. You must be proud." I said, "Yeah, real proud." When I got back to the apartment, I sat on the couch and thought about what I wanted. Not revenge. That wasn't it. Not anymore. What I wanted was leverage. Something that would stop them from pretending I was optional. So I made a decision. The next morning, I called a lawyer, not for a lawsuit, just to explore things. I told him I wanted to put together a form of financial record. All the payments I'd made over the past 5 years for my parents, the car repairs, the rent I'd quietly covered that one winter, the prescriptions, everything. He said, "So, you're preparing for a conversation?" I said, "I'm preparing to be taken seriously." I printed everything out, put it in a folder, waited. Then on Sunday, I got a group text from all 3 of them. "Can we talk?" "No pressure. Just dinner." I said yes. I brought the folder. Dinner was awkward. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, vegetables no one touched. My mom tried small talk. My dad said they'd been thinking about a fresh start, that they were proud of how we were all adapting. My sister barely spoke. I let them finish. Then I opened the folder and placed it on the table. "What's this?" my dad asked. "A list," I said. "Everything I've covered for this family since 2019. No one moved. I said, "I'm not mad. I'm just done pretending none of this happened." My mom looked confused. My sister leaned forward but didn't touch it. Then I said it. "I know about the house." Silence. "I'm not asking for it, but I am asking for acknowledgement. That I've been part of this family and more than just name. That my help has mattered. That I'm not invisible." My dad said we didn't think it would be a big deal. I said that's the problem. I left after that. Told them I needed time. The next day I got a call from my sister. She sounded angry. Said I blindsided them. Said I was making a mess of something that was almost settled. I asked her if she ever intended to tell me. She didn't answer. She just said, "You said yes to helping. Then you pulled this." And I realized something right then. She didn't want my help. She wanted me to stay in my role. The one where I say yes quietly, always, no matter what. But I'm not that version of myself anymore. And if they want anything from me going forward, they'll have to ask very differently. Update. The last time I said yes, I told myself I was done. I meant it when I said it. I had the receipts. I confronted them. I walked away from the table. For once in my life, I didn't bend when they pushed. And still, somehow they got to me. It had been a couple of months, long enough for the silence to get comfortable. I'd blocked them from everything, phones, socials, even told the pharmacy not to call me for any of their prescriptions. And I was doing okay. Lonely sometimes, sure, but clear-headed, focused. Then my mom called me from a different number. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. She didn't cry this time. She sounded exhausted, fragile, but calm. Told me her car had completely died and she couldn't make it to her medical appointments. She didn't ask for money. Not directly. Just said she didn't know what she was going to do. And I don't know why, but I believed her. Maybe I wanted to believe her. Maybe I needed to think they changed. That I could still be the good son without getting burned. So I told her I'd take care of it. I found a car through a coworker. Nothing fancy, just a decent used sedan that ran well. $2,800 cash. I wired it the next day. Had the title transferred to her name. Even texted my sister to let her know it was done. She replied with a, "Thank you, Red Art." And that was it. No one mentioned repayment. No one brought it up again. About 3 weeks later, I ran into our old neighbor outside the post office. She asked if I was still helping the family out. Said she thought I'd cut them off after what happened with the trip. That stopped me cold. I asked what she meant. She said, "Oh, I overheard them the other day. They were laughing about how they got you again. Said you sent them money for the car like nothing had ever happened. That your sister said it was the easiest one yet." I didn't say anything. Just walked back to my car, hand shaking. I wasn't even angry yet. Just stunned. Embarrassed. Like I'd walked right into a joke that everyone else was in on. Later that day, I drove by the house. The car I bought them was sitting in the driveway. Brand new plates. Looked like it hadn't even moved. I rang the bell. My sister opened the door. She looked surprised for half a second, then smiled. "What?" she said like she'd been waiting for this. I asked her if it was true about what the neighbor said. She didn't even blink. "Yeah," she said. So I asked if they planned on paying me back. She actually laughed. "No," she said. "Why would we? That was our revenge. For all the years, you made us feel like charity cases. I stood there not saying anything. My mom walked into the hallway behind her and just looked at me. Didn't speak. Didn't stop her. That was it. I walked away, got in my car, drove straight home, deleted every number again, permanently this time. I've changed the locks on the apartment, flagged their names with my landlord. I told work not to pass along any personal messages if someone calls asking for me. I'm switching banks. I'm making sure there's not a single hole left open where they can reach through. I lost $2,800. That part stinks. But what really hurts is knowing they think this was some kind of win. That they think this finally evens the score. Like I wasn't the one who kept them afloat for years. Like I didn't give up my time, my money, my peace just to keep the wheels on a car I wasn't even allowed to ride in. So yeah, I'm ashamed. I let them in again. But this was the last time. And this time when they need something and there won't be an answer. There will just be silence.